Welcome to Dreams and Thoughts, the podcast where we take a break from the hustle and bustle of life, pour ourselves a beverage of choice, and dive into meaningful conversations about the things that matter most to us. Join us as we explore a wide range of topics, from entertainment and culture to relationships and personal growth, all while sipping on our favorite drinks and sharing our thoughts in a comfortable, relaxed environment. So sit back, relax, let's raise our glasses as we look forward to great episodes of Drinks and Thoughts. Every thought is worth a shot. Drinks and Thoughts. It's fizzy entertainment.
Hello viewers, welcome to another exciting yet a sportive edition of Drinks and Thoughts. Here we'll not just be drinking and thinking, but we are going to be a little sportive. Us being in our JCs today, you should know it's serious business. And of course, on Drinks and Thoughts, we sit back, relax, and talk about issues that pertain to lifestyle, to entertainment, sports, and why not topics that relate to you and to us. We will be right back after the break to introduce our guests and our panel as usual.
Drinks and Thoughts. Spirited conversations with deep thoughts. We stimulate both minds and palates, mixing drinks and ideas.
And joining us today on our sets on Drinks and Thoughts for us to share or prick his mind on some things that pertains to sports, and specifically we're talking today about the life of a professional soccer player. We're not talking about the life of our guest, but we're talking about the life of any footballer, any professional football player, or better still soccer player, as is better known in other countries. And so, ladies and gentlemen, let's welcome our guest, the former vice captain of the Indomitable Lions. And I don't want to increase so much to his introduction. We'll get to know him. I will get to know much more about him. EYONG ENOH Takab.
Yeah.
And as usual, we have our normal crew members, Denzel.
Happy to be here.
Ashil Nana. And Tatapong is not going to be with us on this one. She's not going to be able to, run the 90 minutes in the pitch with us. So it's going to be all masculine today. Welcome to our show, EYONG.
Thank you so much, Mr. Bliss.
How has it been for the few days you've been in Cameroon?
It's been great. It's been great. I've missed Cameroon for a while.
Right.
Most times I've been in Cameroon, as you know, with national team, playing games. But it's also good to be around for one event, engage with people, which definitely you were there, the Level Up event. So, yeah, I'm excited being in Cameroon, meeting other folks, and just enjoying the cool weather in the capital.
The first thing I'll ask EYONG before we get into our conversation is, You've been in the field, you've been playing, and now you're not on the soccer pitch. How do you watch a Cameroon match?
How do I watch a Cameroon match? I watch it as a fan.
Yeah, that's why I want you to tell us how you feel watching, because in Cameroon they say we have 25 or 28 million coaches. So now you're one of those coaches. How do you watch? What is the pressure or the tension, not being in the field, but also watching and having high expectations?
Yeah, when you've had experience in football over a certain period of time, as a fan, you will have pressure. But also because I'm also as a football analyst, I'm also as a football manager, so I see it from those different angles. And I think the football coach and analyst aspect keeps you a little bit calm.
Right.
Because you can see where the game is going and you have an idea of how the result will look like.
Sometimes you think if you were in that place, you would have done something.
Of course, you think that way because you can read how the game is going. And playing in the midfield, you always have to learn to read the game. And I think that's why most of the best coaches are those who have played in midfield.
Wow. So EYONG can be a good coach for us on Drinks and Thoughts. Denzel.
Yeah, so I think one of the unifying factors that makes us Cameroonians is, I think, the fact that we love football very much. I remember when we were in school, they always used to tell us that the only world religion is football. Football is the only world religion, is when you strip off everything. So I think when we look at the lifestyle of pro footballers, if you remove the fame, the finesse and the finance, it's very, very hard because you see people who are in training Monday to Saturday, they don't see their families, they miss out on important events, and they are always on the grind. They are always looking for their next move. And I think something we don't talk about enough when it comes to professional footballers is the fact that their mistakes are always seen across the world. Everything you do on the pitch, there are 80,000 people in the stadium who are seeing it. Maybe 5 million people who have watched it at home. And you can never forget it because it becomes a YouTube video. It becomes a meme. For those who succeed, success sometimes gets, to their heads. The people who are level-headed can no longer be like that again. But I think when it comes to professional football, especially within the context of Cameroon, I think it's the one thing that unifies us the most. I think it's the one pastime that no matter how bad you are feeling, once you put on the television and there's a Cameroon match going on, I think when we lose, everybody is angry. I don't know why, but it looks like you are mad at not just yourself, but also all of the footballers. There's something you said, we have 28 million coaches. I personally think I could be coach of Cameroon tomorrow. I think such as you, because we all have a plan.
Yeah, for sure.
So
You
I
have
think
your lineup.
everybody does. And I think for you, it's more difficult now that you're no longer playing football. For us, I think it's easy because we who watch professional football players, we see all of the mistakes. But I don't think we are strong enough and we are brave enough to actually do what you guys actually do.
Okay, wow, beautiful. Achille,
Yes.
I know at one time, you are thought of playing soccer.
Actually, hey,
I was a goalkeeper, man.
what?
Yes.
Hey,
Yeah.
Achille was a goalkeeper. What was that thing that was particularly a drive for you when you wanted to play soccer?
Alors, pour moi, en fait, le football a toujours été quelque chose d'extrêmement excitant. C'est-à-dire que moi, quand je voulais jouer au football, moi, ce qui était intéressant, c'est la performance que je peux avoir sur le terrain et comment les gens allaient regarder ce que je fais, en fait. Oui, moi, c'est vrai, au début, là, nous, quand on allait jouer, c'était vraiment pour les filles. Hein, ah ouais, c'était ça.
Ça vient avec, hein.
Ça vient avec, tu vois. Que quand on te disait, OK, gars, il y a un match demain. C'est-à-dire que dans ta tête, tu commences à te préparer, tu te dis, mais attends, est-ce qu'il y aura tel. Et s'il n'y a pas tel, est-ce que je peux appeler tel pour dire que bon, moi je joue demain, viens me voir jouer. En fait, il y avait ça, en fait, qui était un peu, comment dire ça, le drive, c'est-à-dire quelque chose qui nous a mené à jouer, à donner des performances extraordinaires.
Tout dans le FENASCO.
Justement, parce que un match de football sans supporter, c'est pas un match de football.
Ouais.
D'accord?
Ouais.
C'est pourquoi, pour moi, tout ce qu'on fait dans la vie, comme je disais la dernière fois, tout ce qu'on fait dans la vie, c'est aussi pour les autres, en fait. Avant d'être... C'est d'abord pour nous, mais c'est aussi pour les autres. Donc moi, l'une des premières choses, déjà, j'étais très passionné parce que j'étais dans un quartier où presque tout le monde jouait au football. Donc on était obligé de jouer au football, en fait. Et puis moi, je me suis retrouvé dans les buts. Et puis, la première chose, c'était le plaisir. Et la deuxième chose, c'était les supporters, ceux qui allaient venir voir, et notamment les filles que j'allais impressionner au quartier. Donc, j'étais fier quand je rentrais au quartier. Ah là, tu étais bon et tout. Donc, je pense que pour moi, c'est la première.
Okay, je veux venir à EYONG. I want to know. It's a lot of young people who play football, and they get to a level and they hit the ceiling.
Yeah.
You're one of the few who have been opportune to play in almost every category of football, from playing in Top Cup, playing in a local championship in Tico, to playing in the first division. Let me not even say playing in your school team in secondary school where you were in Progressive.
Yes,
I remember.
Yes.
And I also remember you were playing in Progressive and playing in Mount Cameroon at the same time.
Yes.
Because I cannot forget a match between Mount Cameroon and PWD Bamenda
Correct.
in the Bamenda Municipal Stadium, where EYONG left school and he went and he played that match, and we were all in school and we were mesmerized. We were mesmerized. From there, you went to the university. You played in the university games, of which you did an outstanding performance in the Yaoundé University Games.
Yeah.
And from there, you went to the Junior Lions. From the Junior Lions to the Senior Lions, the Indomitable Lions.
Yeah.
So, and from there, you went professional, played with Ajax South Africa in Cape Town, Ajax Amsterdam. You went to London and other clubs. It's as though it was a smooth ride, but there's a lot of other talented, super talented. Cameroon is the Brazil of Africa.
Of Africa, true.
And so, what is it that is? I don't want to say particularly to you, but what is it you think is like a formula for young aspiring soccer players?
Well, the word formula is a little bit tricky because I wouldn't say there's a formula. There are different things that work for different people, different circumstances for different people. In my book, I talk about how the journey to become a professional footballer is plagued with different roadblocks. It could be the environment you find yourself. It could be the family you come from, which is not your responsibility, but you find yourself in those contexts.
Right.
As far as I'm concerned, I can only speak from my own experience, which could be limited, but maybe someone can get something that can help them. And from my own small experience, I've seen, and also a little bit of studies I did, not everybody who has a talent of football is going to become a professional footballer. Many people can sing, but not everyone can make a profession out of it. In Cameroon, almost everybody played football in the quartier, played even in school. And not that they're not good, they are good. But that is not the path they're going to go in for. Right. So you have this phase where people have a certain level of talent, but it's at a very young age. So mostly till around, when psychology also in sports shows that people develop talents, and when they hit around 15, when they start to develop adrenaline and also they start to mature, a lot of things shift in their mind and their drives. So most people, by the time they get to 15, interest drops and they start looking at other things. But most people, other people, when they were younger, sometimes they pick up interest from 15. And most people don't know. When I was quite young, I wasn't playing football. I was doing gymnastics.
You were a dancer.
I was dancing.
Okay.
I was also drawing.
Okay.
So it took me time to get to Tico when I was in Impas, where I was exposed to where people were playing more football.
Well, yeah.
That's how I got into
The environment.
The environment. I got into football. And because when I put my mind on something, I really get determined about it. And more of football started coming out, and there were more talented guys around me. So like that also is a factor which it took time for that, to come out. Maybe there were other people who were very talented than me before that age, but they disappeared. So, but from that age 15, you start to see exactly the path someone is going to take, and their drive and determination shows. These are the people that are going to get in profession. So this is also an advice to parents. It's also an advice to a young person to just know once you get to that place and the drive is dropping, don't waste your time. Play it for fun. There's not a problem. Have it as a recreation. But if you're going to pursue a professional career, then at that place, you need to be like, there's nothing else I can do but this. And that was it for me. So from there, the interest from school, like you mentioned, to university, and it just went on. But one thing I want to talk about is talent versus discipline and determination. So there were in my book, I write how talent plays a very least role in your success.
Talent is never enough.
It's never enough. So in fact, if you're very talented, the possibility that you may never become a top professional footballer is almost 90%.
That's
shockingly. Why? Because person who believes in their talent depends on their talent. So they don't know, I have to work my talent for it to move from just a talent to a skill. And stay in the talent, keep working until you master the talent, that becomes success. So for me, I exercised my talent until it became a skill. I knew how to maneuver. I created my own brand. People started calling me Veron. Yep. So now it was becoming a skill that people were noticing it. So for me, those two things are important. So it's discipline, determination. You stay on that path. You keep pursuing. You're going to be roadblocks, but have a dream. I want to also talk about dream because, like I said a couple of times, there are young people who really loved playing football, but they didn't have a dream. They were contented playing in Takwati and being the best player.
Like Nana, she
like we used to do that. Yes, that's it.
They were happy being the best player in their school. If your level of dream was, I just want to play first division in Cameroon, then you ended it. But for me, I saw myself and I believe I was going to play in professional football in Europe. I was going to play someday in the national team. So you see further. So everything you're doing here, you're not doing to end here. It's to go further. So I think those are some of the things I can say. Wow, my small lesson.
You know, when you're talking about dreaming, it's easy for us to dream, and it's one thing for our parents to accept our dreams. You studied
health science,
medical
health sciences
in the University of Boya.
Yes.
How was it, the transition from studying medical health, into soccer? When you got into the university, choosing that career path, I think somewhere you believed that studying that in the university was supposed to get you somewhere. So when did you transition?
Well, actually, my dad wanted me to become a medical doctor.
Okay.
So that was his drive. At school, I really liked science subjects. I was good at biology, chemistry, physics, mathematics, but I was also good in literature, English, history. And I think it's a big miss when they divided people into arts and science students. You should be a global student and find your way. What do you have interest in? And I could have still continued studying history and English. It doesn't have to be limited. Afterwards, I stopped because it gives you a global perspective of life. Right. And so my dad wanted me to get into medical stuff, and I applied for health sciences, University of Boya. But that was not what I wanted. That I knew this is not where I wanted to go. And there came a time in my life where I had to decide the step to take. The interesting thing, I'm talking, probably a lot of young people should be out there listening to me. They think football means you have to stop education and pursue football. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm also saying is that anything you want to do has an educational path.
Right.
So even in football, you need to train. That training and coaching and discipline is part of the education. Yeah. So whatever you want to do, you go to university, get a master's degree in English. You're going to be a teacher in English. What can you do with it? Or maybe you're a translator. So you study it to be able to apply in the profession. So someone who is not following that specific educational path doesn't mean they're going off education. They stay in the football education. It could be a business education. And so that was a big switch for me when I understood, like, no, I'm still following the path. Because at the end of the day, what do you want to achieve? You want to have a profession, you want to earn money, and you want to feel fulfilled.
Right.
So those were the things that helped me to make the choice. Was my family for it? No. Was the people around me for it? No. And again, I'll drop this one to anyone who is out there who feel like the family needs to decide what they have to do. Your friends have to decide what you have to do. Nobody have to do that for you. You need to find what you have to do by yourself. Believe in it. Have a strong conviction. And when you do that, in the beginning, most people won't believe in it. Yeah. But when they see your determination and discipline and they see the results you're harnessing, they will start queuing up to say, okay, we see this. And I think many people have missed out on that because they got soft. And this is serious, because don't get soft on your destiny. It's a big, big thing for you. It's going to determine your future. Some people caught it later, but definitely if you get it earlier,
it'll
be like
there's a misconception, about soccer players, football players, and the aspect of parents letting their children go for soccer. Now there is a particular misconception which has to do with football schools. And people think sending their children to football school is just to go and learn soccer. So can you tell us what happens in a football school, a football academy?
So I would say in Cameroon, without knowing all the details, today when I look at Cameroon, I see a lot of people having what they call academies all over the place.
They call the foot.
But definitely that's not a football academy. Normally in the order and in terms of the structural system in Cameroon, for you to operate as an educational system in whatever field, there needs to be criteria that you need to qualify for. Football, as at now, is one of those only things, one of the biggest thing in Cameroon, which is giving Cameroon's brand, name, influence, greatness, and yet there's not been a defined criteria for whoever wants to run an institution called a football academy to qualify for it. So there needs to be those things. So we have people who have talents who are just organizing kids around because they feel like we don't want to leave the kids on the side. But the best they can do is to train the kids. After that, what happened? So we don't really have in those days when I was young, I hope it's still operating, you had the Kaji Sport Academy, which was set up in a very good way. You had schools inside, you had the business model, the training, the exposure, and same thing like Brazzaville. You see, these are two very consistent. And when we look at Cameroon football history, you see that these are the two big institutions that have produced the players that play in the national team. So these are models for academy. So if someone who has a child who is into football and they want to send them to an academy, we don't have such now at the moment. We have small groups around where the kids can just develop and then don't play. Why? Because for you to run an academy, the person doing that needs to be trained. It needs to be developed. Because an academy is like a school. You can't be a teacher without learning psychology. You can't learn be a teacher without being taught in its professional school setting. So until we put that professionalism, some of the young players that are developing from these areas, they come off half-baked. They don't understand the game.
Right.
And they're just looking at the talent. Il peut jouer au foot. Viens jouer ici. Come and play here. And they think that's the education. So we don't have that put in place yet. Of course, at the moment, we can only do what we can do. Fekefoot is trying to put some programs in place to be able to help with that. I have some plans also to be able to help with that. But so far, there are a few things that helped in the past. We had school football competition that was helping. So you had the kids who were in school in a structured environment, and then they organized games where these kids who have been taken care of in school, learning different subjects, can also express their talents.
Yeah.
So it gave a kind of balance. And if you notice, most of the players that were being scouted into second division and first division those days were taken from secondary schools, from primary schools. You had the Osuks, you had the FENASCO. This school competition produced, I'm a product of that, produced a lot of talent. So it replaced at that time what we call football academies. So it was a combination of education and talent. But now all of that has dropped. And so most of the kids that are driving to go and play football, no one is following up their education. No one is following up the structure of the academy. So you don't know exactly what's happening. You don't have data. You don't have reports. You don't know if the training they're giving them is proper treatment that will prevent them from having injuries in the future. How is their psychology going on? How are they talking to them? Are they talking to them like how you're supposed to talk to children, or they're abusing them in the communication? So there's a lot of things going on in it, where when you produce a footballer that grows up to become arrogant, ask yourself the question, who was talking to them when they were developing? They picked up a way of talking, and as a footballer, they respond to people. So all of that is part of the psychology. And I think for a parent who wants to really put their child, look for an environment. I can't give data now and names, okay, because that's not a possibility.
Sure.
But look for an environment. And we've got YouTube now, which is a lot of information on YouTube. There are people putting out videos. I'll be putting out some videos on just training drills and how to understand what it means to be a footballer, diet, the education around it, and the different structures. So Fekefoot and the different federations, they're trying to do that. They've started to do scouts in certain regions, inter-regions, to locate talents. They're trying to partner with schools, both primary and secondary school, to kind of restore, that kind of structure which will kind of harness players. So for now, we're not organized. I can tell you, most people who have made it, there's a lot of luck and different factors that help them. The majority of players he knows, who were very talented, disappeared.
Right.
And only, go ahead, Greg. There's a lot that you have said, which is very remarkable. Now, for somebody like you, who's an ex-professional player, now you're retired, what would you say is the state of the Cameroon football scene right now, especially within the nooks and crannies of the national team?
Well, for you to talk about the state of the Cameroon football at the moment, you have to go back to what I talked about, the structure that is producing what we're having now. You see, when I talk about those days, the first division competition was at a high level. The schools competition was at a high level. And so out of the national competition, you could produce players like Mila, like Bel Joseph Antoine, like Abega, like Koundé. They were all playing locally, and they were developed. They all were playing there, but also at schools. Don't forget, they were playing school football.
Yep.
And now they moved up to the national team. So these are people who have developed a kind of spirit in the Cameroon local league. And I think one of the visions also of the president of Fekefoot is to encourage for local players to be developed so that they can be pushed into the national team, so that they're not foreigners. You invite players into the national team, you have 2-3 days to train with them. It's little time. So you need to have a kind of a system that in the league, players are already used to, and a philosophy. If they're calling the national team, is no surprise. They're using it at schools, they're using it at the first division, they're using it at the junior national team, at the under 17, they're using it at football clinic.
That we can measure progress.
You can measure. You have the same thing, so that when they get to the national team someday, they know like, how will we play? It's not about talent, it's about how we are organized, it's about the spirit. So I would say, looking at that, I don't want to talk about what everybody already knows. I want to talk about, look at where the problem lies and the solution we're trying to provide, because the details of it is we don't have the talents. We don't have that talents that have worked hard to become skills, and skills to become hardcore mastery in what they're doing, because those processes were not there. A lot of them have skipped processes. They are very talented, but they've not played long enough. I was very young, one of the youngest players playing for Mount Cameroon. And those days you had mature people playing football.
Yeah.
And you have to be there and learn and be mentored. Now you have very young people, you don't have enough matured people to mentor them, and they're already dreaming of going to Europe. And if possible, they're going to take a trip out of the country. And so there's no structure to put them. And so you see that we're not producing because we don't have a good factory that is going to produce that. So the quality has dropped. Nobody, you can't lie about that. But there's a lot of work so that we can upscale the quality again.
Ouais, mais justement, en t'écoutant, et non, c'est extrêmement intéressant ce que tu dis, parce que là, tu nous racontes un peu la Bible du football, carrément. On va dire que avec l'expérience que tu as, et moi, ce qui m'impressionne quand même dans ton parcours, c'est que tu es allé à l'école, tu as fait le football, tellement tu étais discipliné et déterminé, comme tu l'as dit tout à l'heure, qu'à un moment donné, tu as su très tôt quel était ton plan de vie, en fait. Mais aujourd'hui, on a malheureusement des jeunes qui commencent, qui ont beaucoup de talent, comme j'expliquais tout à l'heure, mais qui, à un moment donné, s'arrêtent carrément. C'est-à-dire qu'on a comme l'impression qu'il n'y a pas un suivi, que ce soit au niveau des écoles, parce que nous, par exemple, quand on jouait au football à l'époque, on jouait à l'école. C'est à l'école qu'on voulait impressionner. Mais sauf qu'à un moment donné, nous-mêmes, on s'est arrêtés parce qu'on ne s'est pas dit, on ne nous sommes pas dit, est-ce que le football que je choisis, encore que même à la maison, le parent te disait, le football que tu vas faire là, c'est une connerie.
Ouais, moi, j'ai eu ça aussi.
Voilà, tu vois. Donc, arrête ton histoire là, va à l'école.
Ouais.
Donc, nous, à un moment donné, dans notre tête, on se disait, mais ça veut dire que si je continue dans cette histoire de football que j'aime, je risque de devenir zéro. Alors, qu'est-ce que, aujourd'hui, toi, avec toute l'expérience que tu as, avec toute la lecture que tu as du football, je sais, on t'a vu récemment avec le président de la FICA Foot, j'imagine qu'au-delà des votes de condoléances que tu lui as apportés, vous avez sûrement discuté de comment est-ce que lui, il pense, non seulement la FICA Foot, mais l'organisation du football camerounais aujourd'hui.
Well, it's very simple. What do I have to bring? Again, like I said, educational part. I have my company 4P Baller that I'm going to be doing projects to not just to scout talented players, but also to give them a proper mentorship. And of course, the beginning is going to be difficult because they're not used to it. They're used to being free, but you also want to put them on a certain route. In terms of talking about the president of the FICA Foot, Mr. Samuel Eto'o, I think he will be speaking by himself of the plan, which he's already communicating it to his coaches, to the people around that he has for Cameroon football. I can't think for him. I have an idea, but I think he can speak for himself. I can only speak for what, you know.
And we hope we are praying that he's one of our guests on Drinks and Thoughts someday to ask him those questions.
Okay, that you can ask him for himself. He's going to speak, but I can only speak about, you know, my thoughts about Cameroon football. And I think personally, in Cameroon, we have a certain habit, not that it's bad, to talk a lot about what is going on and do little. And I'm one of those people, just like Chichi, who I don't think we talk a lot. We have a lot of programs to analyze what's going on with this, and we are very good with,
you don't do action.
We're very good with explaining.
Yeah.
We have doctors, professors who are explaining what should be done, what shouldn't be done. And I want to stay a little bit out of that route. I could also talk like that. It would be nice. People like, oh, he's a smart guy, but it's not enough.
Yeah.
I think we should be on the field.
Yeah.
If I'm coming here next time, I should be talking about a project I've done and how is this, what we've achieved.
Yeah.
And so, you know, I'm working on things, but next time I come out, I'll get into those details.
You know, there's one thing about football, and which is the after soccer. You know, it's a lot, you know, that happens to players when they stop playing. It's like life has ended.
Yeah.
You know, when the spotlight gets out of you, it's like you don't have a life.
Yeah.
I know also, I have a glimpse of you working on a project for after football.
Yeah.
Can you please tell us, well, you know, the plans or part of the project, you know, you have with after soccer?
I'm happy you touched on that because it's a very sensitive and critical topic which a lot of people are talking about, but in a different context. I was talking to a few interesting people, and I asked them a question. If you give a pilot to a young man who hasn't learned how to pilot it, what's going to happen? Definitely he's going to crash it. And even those who have gone through all the years of training, they still possibly can crash the plane. And so talking about after football, like when we start developing the footballers, we don't prepare them for after football. So we prepare them just to play. And definitely, when you get to that place when you have to stop, you don't have the tools, the capacity to deal with it. And football is just an example. It could be in other careers as well. And so there's a big, big issue. People know about it, but most people are not talking about it. And I'm one of those people that is really going to be talking about this at a very deeper level. There's a big gap. Most players are not trained or developed or prepared, especially in Africa.
Yeah.
We just jump. We want to play football. We don't think about what happens if football doesn't work. And I can tell you, there's a huge trauma and depression that is going on for most footballers. Whether it's at the level of just trying to find themselves again, look for something that they can identify themselves with. They didn't prepare for this. They didn't plan it. I had a little bit of experience 2017. Even for someone like me who went to university, study, who was already trying to capture what I would do after football. Yet, when I had a moment for 6 months when I didn't have a club, it's the first time it was happening. It was a very tough period to deal with. Wow. Because now I'm like a fish out of water. Mm-hmm. So you've been in, you know, like now with fishes, take it out of water. What's the first thing the fish does?
It's gasping.
It's gasping. It's trying to adapt. Like that's exactly what's happening. Even for someone who has, who is thinking about what they're going to do. Mm-hmm. Same thing with a professional footballer and in any career. Yeah, any career. A switch or a transition is the same thing. So, but for a player who hasn't done, and again, the big word I like to pick, which my company focus on for people, is personal development.
That's it.
So you have the talent which you're developing, but you have the person who has a talent that has to also be developed. Because that's the person that will handle the transition.
That's it.
That's the person that will handle the tough period. Because the talent will be carrying you, but the person that you develop will be sustaining you.
That's it.
So that's the big thing for me. Like when he's talking about how do you deal, what are you doing? So I got into that place where I felt stuck for months. I was kind of blocked in my mind, so I needed to. And then I'm home. I'm not used to being home with the kids. So you visit 1 week, you're with them, it's exciting, you're with them, they're happy, and after you go back. Yeah. It's a nice moment. Mm-hmm. But the mom is with them all the time.
All the time.
So she's in the heat. And then you have to stay home for just 2 months. And I was like, why am I doing this? So this is what this lady is dealing with. Oh, that's why. Pick them to school, bring them back, screaming and everything. That's real. Mm-hmm. You know, but how many people are going to talk about it?
That's it.
And so I have to adjust. I'm struggling. Like, it's like too much. I have to go take some air. Like this is too much. Like a lot of heat coming to you.
J'ai envie de comprendre quelque chose, et non, je te coupe pas, si tu me permets. En fait, ce que tu dis est clair, à dire que c'est très compliqué. Une fois que la carrière est terminée, on ne sait même plus quoi faire, on entre dans la dépression et tout. Alors, est-ce que ça veut dire que pendant qu'on commence sa carrière, il est aussi important d'avoir un plan d'après-carrière à l'instant où on a commencé?
Au moins, il faut avoir une idée. Et aussi, il faut faire le développement personnel. Tout est préparé.
Tout à fait.
So my company, what we're doing is I'm touching on, you asked what I'm doing after football.
Yes.
So that experience made me to ask a question. My wife was very instrumental because she was the one that was like encouraging me and try to push me, like think about what you can do afterwards. She was proposing different things, but it was like hitting a brick wall, you know, because I have to get out of that familiar place into a new territory where I have to start thinking differently. Because imagine a footballer thinks visual.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So he's always seeing things. He's seeing the ball. He's seeing a video. You're doing analysis in the game. He's playing. Everything is visual. Mm-hmm. And he doesn't think a lot. When you're thinking with your talent, you're thinking with your skill, with your performance. So you need to get out of that box.
That's it.
You can use that tool. You need to start trying to use another tool that
you have to think out of the box.
So you're thinking of something else out of that narrative.
That's it.
And that's now it pushes pressure. And you know, then you start to feel the pain in your brain. And it's a very uncomfortable place. And most people, you know what we'll do? Because as a footballer or as an athlete or a performer and entertainer, when you get to a place where your brain can't take what you're trying to process, you need noise to drown it. So don't be surprised what footballers like to go to nightclub. They like to listen to music. They like to be in a place where they are partying.
Where they are celebrated. Some
people think that they are just trying to enjoy the moment because when they are playing, they're not enjoying it. That's not it. They're trying to drown the possibility to really think critically on important things that they need to face.
That's it.
And when you don't face it during your career, it's going to accumulate and it's going to hit you hard when you get to the close of it. So one of the things I've been doing is to create this program where I can touch aspiring footballers. If you're aspiring, I can give you the tools not only on how to plan your career, how to think, find your why are you playing football, define it early, and also develop the performance mindset, the winner's mindset, because football can switch anytime, and you need that mindset in any other thing in life. Also, a little bit of education about money, because at the end of the day, I was using the example of a plane, right? If you work all your life earning money and you have never studied about money, there's 100% possibility that you will lose all the money.
Wow.
And especially in your domain.
So Afroverse, like you said, is one of the things I'm busy with. So you have 4P baller, you have, which is
4P baller.
4P, like 4P.
4P baller.
4 like number 4, which song is wearing. P like for Peter.
The baller.
And P, the P is like those who have started marketing. The marketing means...
Well, the 4 P's. Product, place, promotion.
You got it.
Yeah.
You got it. So that's what inspired me, the 4P. And for me, the 4P is number 1, purpose, is performance, is prosperity, and is personality. I didn't touch on personality, but from there, I also thought about how to marry. Technology is the future.
Right.
Yeah.
He's in a business that if he doesn't upgrade his tech, he's going to get out of business. So I'm in sports, I've been in football, and now the next flow of football is going to be in tech. And so that's why Afroverse is the next step for me. So it's marrying my experience in football to harness the IPs of professional footballers who, especially Africans, who have not capitalized on it, to monetize it, to give us the real value that we have out there. Just to throw a thought, the first player we began to push on IP is Johan Cruyff in Holland.
Okay.
So clubs were signing contract with him, using his image rights to make money from sponsors. And he said that was not okay. When I play on the field, you pay me, but now you also you pay me for performance. But you're using my image to make more money, and I'm not getting anything out of it. And so he said, no way. If you sign me, you need to give me a signing on for my image. So even if you're getting those sponsors, give me a percentage of it because you're using my image. And this is how he pushed his earning up, and it spread, and most players became aware in Europe, but in Africa, most of us have not been taught about. I didn't know about it, and Afroverse is about using that.
All right, beautiful there. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we are going to be talking about some more intriguing things about soccer and the life of a football player.
Drinks and thoughts. Spirited conversations with deep thoughts. We stimulate both minds and palates, mixing drinks and ideas.
Welcome back. We are having a very in-depth conversation, and it's a lot we're learning. It's a lot of goosebumps we're having from the realities EYONG is sharing with us. And before we went on a break, you were talking about something very interesting. And right now, I want us to talk about football contracts. You know, when a player is signed, you hear a lot of huge figures.
Yeah.
You know, this person was signed for 90 million euros. This person was signed for 100 million. You know, these numbers, they're exorbitant. And, for us back in Africa, if I hear that EYONG has signed a huge contract, I just go to the bar and start drinking. That's it. No, my friend, So I want you to get into the realities of football contracts. How do you get your contracts, and those figures? I want you to explain to us in terms of percentages, and let's see how a footballer's contract is being broken down, because it's a myth that a lot of us don't know, a lot of people don't know, that maybe you have a management company, maybe you have a manager, maybe there are taxes you have to pay. Being a player from a federation, maybe that goes to we don't know, and maybe at the end of the day, the player owns maybe 20%. We don't know. So how does it go with football contracts?
That's a very interesting question, and I hope we had a football agent as per, because most football agent and football lawyers, they are really the ones that craft contracts for both clubs, because the clubs have his own contract, but the players have their contract. And this is very critical, because I left Cameroon having no clue about contract. Like most players in Africa live, you sign a contract in a club, you're just interested in the money. But when you start to go to European market, contracts are very important. And the first thing to know about contract is the contract with your agent. So when I left here, when the agent signed a contract with you, most players don't read it. Why? Because they think I just want to the agent to get me a club in Europe. And most of the times, about 90% of the cases, there's always a problem when the players start realizing what was in the contract, which was not friendly. So that's the first thing you want to make sure you know. Study, like before players
know how to interpret contracts.
Go and check what is the percentage that an agent has to get from a professional contract. Now, when I left here or when I was in Cameroon, or most people said 10%, 10%, 10%. Some agents would put 20%, 30% if they know you're very ignorant and you're desperate. But when I got to UK, I discovered that the percentage an agent has maximum to take is 3.5%.
Wow.
3.5%.
That's special in football, right?
That is in football.
That's a professional rating.
That is a rating.
3.5.
You can negotiate different with you.
Okay.
You need to know.
Okay.
The next thing is, when I signed a contract with my agent, he signed a contract with me where he was going to take 10% because he's negotiating the salary.
Mm-hmm.
And they're going to pay him 10% upfront of my whole year's salary, right?
Oh, wow.
So definitely, which means if I'm earning 100,000, they pay him 10,000. I'm left, who is paying that 10,000? I pay him 10,000. And in that 100,000, they've taxed me throughout the year. So I pay his tax as well.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm giving him net, but they're taking me, I'm getting me taxed from that whole 100,000.
Yeah, he is not taxed.
So he is not taxed. So you see, I'm giving him that money. And then I've already lost. So they're going to
10% of your money.
They're going to tax me 100% tax on 90,000.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I'm on the down count. But as a player, I'm not thinking that.
Yeah.
I'm just wanting to play. Secondly, the club has a contract with the agent. And because the agent negotiated a contract with the club, they pay him a percentage, which that is the real percentage for the agent's fee, which before
normally has to come from
the player
the
doesn't
club.
know, right? So you're ignorant, and the agent is taking a percentage from you, and he's taking a percentage from the club.
Whoa.
So he's taking
and what's the percentage between the agent and the club?
10%.
10%.
10%.
He takes 10% from there for you.
And he could take 20% from the player. He could take 50%. It's based on, but if the player knows the right percentage, he's gonna go for it. Like, no, it's 10% the club is paying you. So after learning this, you have to always know that the agent does the work, the club pays directly. So to avoid all the problem that started to happen with players and agents, if the agent signs the player to the club takes care of the percentage of the agent, and the player is left to deal with his salary at the club. So that's one important thing to know about contracts for players and agents. The next thing between clubs and the player,
right?
Very complex. Like here I talk about tax. So you need to know, if you want to play in a club, what is the tax rate there? For example, I'm giving figurative figures. I left Cape Town. I'm signing the first professional contract in Amsterdam. Let's say I'm earning 250,000 a year. So 250,000 a year in Holland, they're taxing 52% from your salary. So 250,000, if they break it probably into 10 months or into 11 months, it's not giving you 25,000. Probably it's giving you like 20,000 or so. So if they're getting 52% tax,
wow,
you're dropping down to what? Roughly,
is too much, you know.
I'm just telling you. Like in UK, I think you should be there about 35 and 34 and 40, because it depends on how much you're earning. The higher you earn,
the more that
is been taken from you. So if you're earning above a certain threshold amount, they'll give you that tax. So when you drop down to about 10,000 or so, and you want to live the big life, right? So you have players who have played for years, earned their dues, they're driving big cars, you're just there, you want to also show you're there. On 10,000, you also have to pay your insurance. You have to pay your car license. You have to pay your road tax. You have to pay your rent house. You have to take care of bills. This is just in Europe. Then you start to bring it now to Africa. Of course, you guys know how it is. And so
we don't care about your taxes. When you come, you have to.
So
that's it.
Remember,
because you have heard about the big
so
amount.
if they were going to announce how much I signed as a contract, or I say EYONG signed 250,000, and you guys are going to be evaluating me on 250,000.
Yeah,
we don't care about the rest.
Yeah, exactly. Mais je crois que peut-être aussi le fait que sur le plan de la communication, on annonce ces gros montants, c'est pour le marketing aussi du club.
And then, as a local player from a federation, does your federation feed on you signing a professional contract?
Well, basically,
let me ask two questions. Does your federation and your former club that you were playing in when you were signed, do they feed off your contract?
So when you're a player from a development club, for example, if you were in an academy, the first division team signs you, they have to pay a certain development fee to the club that they took you from. At a certain age, you have to be at a certain age to sign a contract.
Right. Okay.
When you have been in that club, they don't pay back to the federation. If the money that could go to the federation is what you call international transfer, if you're going outside the country.
Yes.
So the federation charges something for all the documentations and all of that.
Okay.
Now, for you going to a professional club, changing another club, what they pay is transfer fee.
So if you're moving, for example, you living Mount Cameroon to Ajax, Cape Town,
Yes.
they pay a transfer fee to Mount Cameroon.
If I have a contract that is still valuable, maybe 1 year, 2 years
Okay.
with Mount Cameroon, and Ajax wants me, they're going to calculate that amount of contract, and there's have to be what you call a buyout clause.
Yeah.
So, for example, if Mount Cameroon said a club wants to buy EYONG with a 3 years contract, they need to pay 10 million. So that would be the amount. They cannot go above it. If they try to do it, that's why most times when players are doing well and they have those contracts, the club quickly tries to negotiate a new contract so they can change that clause and increase the amount. Then they know they can sell because that's business. But if the player's contract is over and it's a free agent, they don't pay that club anything.
Okay.
Because it's not a development club. It's not a youth academy club. The player goes for free. It's a free agent.
And the federation has nothing.
The federation has nothing.
Nothing at all.
No.
One thing I found very interesting with your career is that it is relatively scandal free. There was nothing about women, nothing about nothing. I think your career had a lot of philanthropy. You helped a lot of people, and you were also vice captain. How exactly did you model your career to a point where you were always void of everything that had to do with scandals? Because today we see a lot of problems with football players. Like when they get done with football, they are either bankrupt. When they get married to the wrong people. They start fighting with their agents. They become broke. How were you able to remove yourself from that particular threshold to where you played, your career got finished, and you are done, and you don't have any problems?
That's a tricky question because when it comes to scandals and that, no one can control it, right? Even the most nicest of people, they have scandal. Like maybe in the context of how we define scandal in Cameroon, maybe you say I don't have. But if you go into certain quarters, there could be a lot of scandals about me that's in different
That's
things
what I wanted to say.
that,
Maybe.
that I don't know, or maybe you don't know, right?
How you don't know about your own scandal?
Well, definitely.
Maybe we are going to
in
know.
the national team, there are things about me that I don't know. Like sometimes someone has to tell you, hey, tu sais qu'on parlait de ça? I'm like, oh, serious? Or they wrote this about you. I'm like, oh, serious? Because I don't go look for stories.
But there's one scandal I know about EYONG is that he always takes a card. He will not play a match and not take a card.
Some people even do a bet, like when I was at Ajax, that
Remember the match that you took a red card in the 10 minutes?
they got,
Let me see the match.
yeah, when I
You took a red card. I was so mad.
when I went to Belgium,
I was
that
so
was my
mad.
first game.
Red card in
And-
10 minutes.
And that was an interesting welcome.
Yeah.
But the thing of scandal is that I don't think someone should go about their life as though they want to avoid scandal. When you try, the things you try to avoid, you always get into them. So I never thought about scandal. I thought about my principles. I thought about my values. I'm a Christian. I believe in God. And I believe that if I stick to those values and then I keep myself on course, the one that I serve will take care of the rest. And also I understood that making that choice, because one of my calling was to change the narrative about footballers. There was a lot of misconception about footballers. They're disrespectful, they're womanizers, they don't like education, and they're not smart.
They're bad
above the
boys.
law.
They are above the law and all of that. And that happens in other fields, but because football is seen on the limelight, and that gives a very bad narrative. The parents wouldn't want their daughters to get married to footballers because of that. And for me, being a Christian, one of my assignments was like, there has to be a difference. And other parents need to see like there's a good model. And other young people who would have been discouraged not getting into this because they don't want that life, they say like, okay, we can look up to this guy. Even though my intention was not that they should look up to me, my intention was to give my best, and God could use it as a model so people could see it. So I didn't try to avoid scandal. I tried to be my best, to be myself, and not to be another person. And I stick to my values, my conviction in God, my belief. And the rest is the testimony which people are saying. Like if you're doing a good job, like Chich is doing his stuff, people will start talking about that he's doing a good job. That's the testimony of no scandal.
Ouais, justement, pour essayer d'entrer un peu dans la même mouvance que Denzel, on sait des footballeurs que généralement, c'est des gars, quand ils arrivent en boîte de nuit, c'est apporte les champagnes et tout ça. Justement, toi, tu n'as pas été dans ce cas. D'accord? Et c'est ce qui fait en sorte qu'aujourd'hui, on peut bien parler de toi parce que Denzel disait, il n'y a pas de scandale en ton nom. Peut-être il y a des scandales qui vont arriver, on ne sait pas. Peut-être il y a des choses que tu as fait dans le noir que nous, on ne connaît pas. Et que peut-être dans 5 ans, 10 ans, on va dire, ah, voici une vidéo de ENOH. Mais qu'est-ce que toi, aujourd'hui, tu peux conseiller aux jeunes? Parce que beaucoup de jeunes aujourd'hui, même avant même qu'ils aient signé un contrat à l'équipe nationale, commencent déjà à faire trop de boucans au quartier. Qu'est-ce que toi, tu peux leur dire aujourd'hui? C'est-à-dire, comment est-ce qu'on peut gérer? C'est vrai que tu as dit que dans ton académie, en fait, tu train people de their mindset.
Et dans son livre.
Dans son livre aussi, tu en as parlé.
Ouais.
Mais de manière concrète, comment est-ce que tu comptes approcher? Parce que le livre, tu sais, aujourd'hui, beaucoup d'Africains ne lisent pas. D'accord? Beaucoup d'Africains ne lisent pas. Il y a d'ailleurs un adage qui dit, si tu veux cacher quelque chose en Africain, mets dans les livres. Maintenant, est-ce qu'au-delà de ton livre, il y a peut-être des séances de, je sais pas moi, de coaching que tu voudrais faire à ces jeunes-là pour leur dire, hey, écoutez, voici comment on gère une carrière. Voici l'attitude qu'il faut avoir si on veut aller loin, si on veut être à l'équipe nationale, si on va faire une carrière de 20 ans, voici l'attitude qu'il faut avoir. Est-ce qu'il y a des séances de coaching que tu...
Definitely. That's what 4P is all about. Like I said, it's a platform for mentorship to mentor aspiring footballers and take them on a series of coaching workshops.
Okay.
So you walk on the field, that's good, you've got your coach there, but you need a life coach. Someone that was going to coach you. And what I did in my master's in sports management is sports management and lifestyle.
Okay.
So that's the master's I did, which means I'm not just only coaching you about managing yourself, but actually your life, like how you carry yourself as a brand.
That's it.
And all of that. And there's a teaching, like I believe that this has to go way back. Like I said, it's not just for footballers, it's also for any young person aspiring to be in any profession.
Okay.
And anything you're going to do, you want to apply a professional approach to it. And that starts with a mindset. So for me, I have workshops. I'm not just going to talk about football academies. I'm going to visit schools, talk to young people, have workshops. I'm also going to visit professional settings to talk to people about how to work on a balanced lifestyle, because if you don't find the balance, you're going to lose the other things that you think you're working for. So for me, those are the, like I said, I want to show projects. I don't just want to talk about projects.
That's very interesting, parce que justement, on a besoin quand même de voir des personnes comme toi sur le terrain. C'est-à-dire qui ne restent pas juste derrière, disent OK, faites ci, faites ça, mais au moins qu'ils soient sur le terrain. Donc, je pense que s'il y a une démarche pour que tu ailles dans les écoles, parler directement aux jeunes qui te voient comme un modèle, je pense que ça aura peut-être plus d'impact sur la jeunesse.
I'm doing it already, don't worry.
And there's something which you just said, which I wanted to also ask. When does a player move from being a player to a brand? Like, okay, now you, the Eto'os, the Messis, when does a player move from just being a football player to a brand?
Well, if you start thinking as a brand as early as possible, the better. You don't have to sign a professional contract to become a brand. That's the education I want to give them. The brand is about how you carry yourself, who you are. Yeah. Young people now have access to social media. So branding is about how you communicate, what pictures you put. Young kids, 14, 13, 15 in Europe and all over the world, they have access to phone. They post pictures. They have Instagram. They have TikTok. So as a brand, what are the values you want to represent? So you teach them from that very age what kind of pictures, what kind of comments, how you relate with people. What do you want to sell? Do you want to sell yourself short or sell yourself big? You want to be a big fish in a small pond or a small fish in a big pond. You have to all kind of have that idea, how to protect yourself from cyberbullying, from online social media stuff. You can share your thoughts. Some people may not agree. They're going to insult you. How are you going to take it? What will you do? Will you start quarreling, insulting people? That's how you talk about a brand, building yourself as a brand.
That's it.
Wow. Very interesting conversation. And we can be here forever with EYONG ENOH talking about the life of a professional soccer player. And of course, it's a lot of insight we've had, today about how, professional players live their life and what they do. I wanted to ask, what is the average lifespan of a professional player that you have this block, for a professional player? What's the lifespan, the average lifespan?
Most people don't know, but being a professional footballer could be the most shortest of careers you could ever have.
Mm-hmm.
And like in any other sports, the injuries can take you up so quickly.
Yeah.
So I talked about from the age of 0 probably to about 15, the child is still, you have to find out this guy going to be a professional footballer. Between 15 and 19, if that child gets the right mindset between that age, they're going to break out into professional football and they're going to be consistent. But if they don't hit it by 18, they're going to struggle for 1 to 3 years, 4, and they're going to disappear. So the actual lifestyle of a professional footballer, if I were to take it in Europe, let's say you sign a contract, because now they brought it down. Before you had to sign a contract from 18 as a professional footballer. Now you can sign from 16.
Oh.
You can be represented by an agent. So let's say a child signs a contract by 16 into 17. So let's say from 17. So that 17 you see into 27. That's the typical average 10 years lifestyle of a professional footballer lifespan. Anything you do here is going to determine after 27 how it's going to look like. Whether you're going to stay relevant, you would have built a brand, or you would just disappear. And that will be it. So 10 years is that window. Some players don't make it up to 5 range in that 10 years.
Bro.
Some players hit the 10 years, and those who build a brand and are consistent like Ronaldo, they go above into 30-something. But if I were to advise any young person, you don't know if you're going to become a Ronaldo. You don't know if you're going to become a Messi. So why not work on a 10 years plan?
Capitalize
in that window and prepare to retire and to leave another thing.
Wow, beautiful. EYONG, you're a father of 5 boys, and we see some of the things you're talking about, being applied to your first son, Bashan, who is in the Ajax Junior Academy.
Yeah.
I think, yes. And I've watched some videos of you with training sessions with your son. It's formidable. What are your goals for your son? Are all of your sons into soccer, or are some?
No, I've got 5 boys. 3 of them, they have passion for football.
Okay.
And it came from themselves. Surprisingly, Bashan is the only one who has been in a stadium to watch my game.
Oh.
And he was quite young. He was a baby when he was born in South Africa. He came to the game a few times with his mom. When he came to Amsterdam, it was probably about 4 or so that he came watch just one game. And the rest of the 4 boys, they didn't watch me when I was playing professional football.
Wow.
So the 2 of them, their passion is not coming from watching me. It's coming from themselves. And that's why I'm supporting them.
Yeah.
And the other 2, they love football, they like football, but they love computers as well.
Oh, just going back to what Mr. Blaze has said, I think almost everybody knows you had a very good career as a midfielder. But what is not talked about enough is the fact that you were actually vice captain of the national team. How did that come about?
How did that come about? Just like how surprised you were and other people, that's how I was surprised. I don't know how that came about, honestly. I can only say, God opened the way, show to people that probably I have some leadership skills that will be needed.
Your
in the national
attitude.
team.
Probably.
And my attitude. So I'm not going to go into a lot of details because we'll sit here down for another 2 days. We'll not finish all the adults. But I've always believed that if you carry yourself properly, you lead by example, you don't have to be nominated as captain in a national team. You can be a captain and a leader without being... Just the responsibility doesn't hide. So
taking responsibility in the national team is one thing that, like you said, he took, of which he doesn't really like accolades. But there was once I was watching the interview of the now president of Fecafoot, who was captain, and he made mention of the World Cup 2010 in South Africa, of which there was a lot of chaos in the national team, and he said nobody could put the team together but one individual who was called EYONG ENOH, who did a 45-minute speech to the Lions, and they came together and they went for the next match. And so we are happy to have you here, EYONG, and we're rounding up our program. We know we've kept you so long. You have a tight schedule, and we're privileged to have had you. Last words, Achille.
Ben, moi, le dernier mot que je vais dire, c'est est-ce qu'on peut donc finalement dire que ton attitude a déterminé ton altitude?
Oui, yes, you can say that.
Yeah.
It's a valid statement.
Like you said, you wanted to use Jesus Christ to show that football was good. I think you did. But you were also a Jesus boy who was also playing with a lot of bad game. So that's the thing. Then you also did a good job.
That's a good one. Jesus boy play with a lot of bad
game.
Even Jesus used the weak one.
Just once, but he didn't continue.
Just once.
Just once. Then you
once.
Thank you.
And then he hired a disciplinary to continue the work.
Yeah. Thank you very much, EYONG. We are so delighted on our set having you.
Yes. You know, the thing is, most of my shirts and the things I have, you know how it is now. We have big families and that. They've collected everything. So, and the rest down a frame. But I was able to find one of my stuff with my name on it that I feel like I could give you guys on the show so that you can keep it as a souvenir, and I'm going to sign that. So this is the shirt of the club I played in Holland, Willem II. It's in Tilburg. So I played, and I'm going to sign the shirt so you guys can have it.
Yeah, we frame it here. You put in
Drinks and thoughts.
And thoughts.
Thank you so much.
Wow, this is so thoughtful, and
Over to you.
Whoa, alors.
That's the captain.
yes. And of course, this is going to be on Drinks and Thoughts set almost forever.
Okay.
We are very happy having you. Thank you very much for making out time. And anytime you come to Cameroon, it's a lot more we would like to tap into your brain, you know, for us to share, even out of football and other things, you know, you're doing. Thank you very much.
Thank you for having me.
And it's a wrap this day on Drinks and Thoughts, Fizzy Entertainment. Bye-bye.
Right.
On this show, every thought is worth a shot. Drinks and Thoughts. It's Fizzy Entertainment.